Hey y'all, it's David Ducker coming back at you, and today I'm going to be talking about big man history in RPGs. In the real world, there were people, there probably still are people, who believe history is shaped by great men or great women. And while this has largely fallen out of favor in historical circles, there are still a few great men and women who really stand out as changing history. Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, Napoleon Bonaparte, Adolf Hitler, George Washington. If you live in the US of A, George Washington changed history all by himself, perhaps. And a lot of RPG settings are missing out on these historical figures. And this can even go into religious figures. If you think about Jesus, or Moses, or Muhammad, or Buddha, and their various even saints and martyrs. Very often in an RPG, the history of the setting will not have these keystone characters. You know, they'll say the dwarfs fought a war against the orcs, and that's all it says. It doesn't say that King Ironbeard fought against, Grog One-Eye, the one-eyed orc. You know, perhaps it was actually a Cyclops masquerading as an orc. You know, if you have these characters, then they can have artifacts, they can have legends. Much the way that, there are all these stories about Thor, about Hercules. There are all these stories about the life of Muhammad, the hadiths. Proverbs about Confucius with his philosophy. What would Confucianism be without Confucius? You could still have all of Confucianism without Confucius. That's not a problem. But by having Confucius there, you have this touchstone, So I just want to encourage everybody to use these historical figures, and they can be again religious as well. If you think about Muhammad. Muhammad is not a god. He is a prophet. He's a messenger of God. And a lot of RPG religions just have gods. And they don't have these prophets, these messengers, these holy men, these saints. People, who you don't worship, but you look to them for guidance and inspiration. So that's like something that's very, very much missing in many RPGs. I've been playing Warhammer Fantasy, using the Game of Thrones rules, but in the Warhammer universe. And that's one thing they do very well. You have Sigmar, the founder of the Empire. You have all of these other figures coming through. Nagash, the first necromancer. You have Lamia, I believe her name was Lamia, the first vampire, and her relationship with Nagash and why he cursed her, and how Sigmar put him down to the ground. You have Magnus the Pious, who reunited the Empire, after the age of 3 emperors. You have the incompetent Emperor Detlev the Fourth, I believe his name was. And of course, when I'm playing, I have all these notes. I don't prep my videos nearly the way I prep my campaign. But you have all these characters in the history of the world. If you look at Game of Thrones, you have Bran the Builder, the founder of House Stark. You have, I believe it's like Lan of Lannisport, the man who tricked the Castellys into giving him Casterly Rock, the founder of House Lannister. You have that green-thumbed gentleman from the Reach. You have all of these characters. You have Princess Nymeria. You have all these historical figures to look back to and to take inspiration from, and to have this was the axe of Gorbad Ironclaw. That was one of the orcs who ravaged the Empire. The other one was Grom the Paunch. Gorbad destroyed most of Averland, and he fought his way all the way through to the sea, through Nordland, and then he sailed off. He was the orc who was never beaten. He just sailed off to conquer other continents and continue his path of destruction. Maybe he's still out there. But this legend, and the fact that in our game, House Nestel says we are the one house that never fell. And there's hordes and there's swarms came and piled around our castle walls, but we never fell. The castle was never taken. We withstood this siege. When everyone else for 500 miles was crushed and killed and all the walls pulled down and no buildings survived, but our castle survived. And we can have that piece of history. You can see it on the tapestry as you're walking in. Hear the bard singing about it. You can have the leader of that house referencing it. And who was that great hero who withstood this siege? Our own house in the game, House Berengar, was founded by Berengar the Corsair. And when it might have been it was Astavar Kul, the ever-chosen of chaos, coming down from the north. He has Nuln besieged, blockaded the city of bridges, all the rivers cut off. But Berengar the Corsair ran the blockade with his ship which burst in flames as the orcs and the Northmen poured flaming oil onto it. But he got through and he got the supplies into the city. And in gratitude, Magnus the Pious himself made Berengar into a lord. And ever since then, the House of Berengar has stood by Nuln to defend it in hard times. They've always been the greatest sailors on the rivers, greatest galley captains. And this is the house that we're playing. We have this history to look back on. And some people sneer on us because of that, and they say, oh, well, your ancestor was not a noble or a leader of man. He was just a pirate. He was a smuggler. And we're going to keep looking down on you because of that 500 years later. And that adds so much to the game, to have these historical figures. Not just history, but historical figures, people that you can look back to. So that's the point of my video, is next time you're going through the history of your world, or even the history of your characters, make sure these historical events have people as their touchstones. People you can look back to and aspire to or continue to despise. People that can tie into plots and items and relics from their times. People that change the world, because when the campaign is over, the PCs should become these historical figures as well. Add to that history and tradition. That's of course the level I like to play at, that you are deciding the fate of the world and you'll always be remembered in that world. But it makes it even better if there are people who the world already remembers. So let me know in the comments below, have you done this? Have you not done this? Good experience, bad experience? Please let me know. I love the comments. Thank you very much for watching the video, and have yourself a good day. Cheers.